What's the most ducked up thing you've experienced at a night party? Y2K. Right as everyone was transitioning from the one of the countdown to Happy New Year, my buddy flipped the main breaker to the house. Panic did ensue. Absolutely naked guy came walking into the bar and sat at the bar like nothing odd about it. This is a neighborhood bar, but it's a little famous. A lot of famous actors and such pass through because it's been in a lot of movies and always has good music. So mostly people are ignoring the guy or whatever, just sort of wondering when the cops will show up, but I'm outside looking in because I was enjoying the air over the levee. Big crowd. Nobody else being naked and not too drunk yet. But the bartender won't turn around and even look at the guy. She's just been standing at the bar facing the mirror the whole time, acting like she's polishing a glass and the place is basically full, but she won't even address him. Eventually she starts sobbing and someone says something to the naked guy and it gets a little confrontational, and a couple of the bigger guys help him make up his mind to leave, but he's not apologetic at all, and it turns out he was the bartender's father and he found out she'd done a porno film or something similar. And he was trying to make a point. Yeah, he's on a list now. Not that it matters. Everybody for 3 towns knows who he is after that sheet. Unfortunately the bartender couldn't hold it together the rest of the night, and that's how we found out the whole thing. My brother ate an entire tray of Oreos by himself. And later that night, he was vomiting pure black. My other brother walked in on that while half asleep and thought he was having a nightmare. A girl I barely knew getting abandoned at my friend's house because her friends didn't want to deal with her. I've had it happen multiple times in my life where I end up taking care of random people, but this girl went on the roof with her friends, then got so hammered that she couldn't get down without help and they decided it wasn't their problem and left her. After getting her down, I spent the night holding her hair in the bathroom and making sure she made it through the night, which didn't bother me too much because someone had to do it, and we all know how awful it can be to go through that sort of thing. What broke my heart was her laying next to the toilet begging me not to leave her like everybody else. I miss college, but looking back it's frustrating how many friendships were nothing more than I'm here for you but only as long as I'm having fun. My college roommate and I rented a first floor apartment in a house next door to a convent. We threw a New Year's Eve party and invited musician friends to play live music that people requested. Soon the doorbell rang. And it was a group of 7 nuns that wanted to join us and listen to the music. Those nuns knew how to party. They fixed themselves some potent drinks and eventually decided to return to the next door convent. When I asked if they'd like an escort back, one nun said, "Thanks, but we're within staggering distance of home." Back in 1999 I went to a house party in Edinburgh. The flat was above the grass market, and if you climbed onto the roof you could see all the night party below. To get onto the roof you had to climb some spiky railings. Coming down, one girl slipped and a spike entered her chest, nearly piercing her lung and heart. As I climbed down I also slipped and impaled my foot. When I was 15 I went to a night party in the Castro district of San Francisco. I expected to see lots of crazy shit, naked people, and supreme gayness. I saw all of that. As midnight approached, a beautiful 30-something woman who knew my sister came up to me and started telling me how cute I was and how beautiful my hair was. It was the 90s and I had long grunge style hair, among other things. She kept looking over her shoulder at me for the next few minutes as she walked around the party. And my eyes were transfixed on her. At midnight we all started blowing horns and cheering, generally making lots of noise. And then it slowly fell silent as everyone started kissing. It didn't really matter much who or what you were kissing. Apparently, I was there with my sister, and I was not kissing her. So I was basically looking around totally uncomfortable. Suddenly someone grabbed my shoulder and spun me around. It was the beautiful lady. She asked me if I had ever kissed before. And I shook my head no. I felt her lips press against mine. And then her tongue forced my mouth open and give me a deep passionate kiss for what seemed like an eternity. As she pulled away I nearly fell into her arms. She gingerly ran her fingers along my face and whispered, "Happy New Year, sweetie." She walked off and I never saw her again. Thank you crazy 30 something beautiful lady for being a super creeper and mouth ducking this 15 years old boy. I've never forgotten you. Paula. Goddamn it, Paula. She was a friend of a friend. Invited a few people over for New Year's Eve. Her condo had a great view of where there would be fireworks. Her brother was there, along with his boyfriend. Come midnight, everyone's a bit trashed. Someone mentioned that the third floor balcony would have a great view of the fireworks. So everyone rushes up there. Turns out, Paula, her brother, and her brother boyfriend decided to have a threesome. I was right behind my girlfriend at the time, and she opened the door to that bedroom right in front of me. Paula was getting it from both ends. Brother and boyfriend. We watched the fireworks from the street. The year was 2011. I just turned 18 and resolved to not be a dork anymore. I managed to get myself invites to a cool kid party. Goose. Drew Gus. 6. I was excited and nervous but ultimately ready for something new. I'd never been to a real party before. I remember almost vomiting when I went to knock on the door. I was so nervous. It opened and the girl I knew who had invited me pulled me inside. She was a little drunk and in hindsight I think she might have had a thing for me. So she basically drags me over to where her friends were. They let me drink straight out of their bottle. It was gross. But I was so excited to finally be cool. Then it happened. A dude at the pong table turned around and on his face were what could best be described as glasses. Except they had 2011 over the front. The zero was an eye hole and there was a circle cut out of the first one. It was disgusting. Why the duck would you continue making wearing the glasses of the year after there stopped being consecutive zeros? I haven't left my house since. Easily my ex, GF and her friend getting into a fist fight after the friend called my ex an alcoholic. We were 16. Came down with a case of norovirus. At first I thought I just drank too much. Vomiting. Then the other end started to rumble. And I knew I was in trouble. It lasted for 2 full days. Worst time ever. I was in the army at the time. And we had a massive party in some bushland near our base. This lady who had been a girlfriend of one of the guys for about a week. Over a year before. Found out about it somehow and turned up. She was a little drunk. And a lot crazy. Ended up in a psych hospital a few years later. And had driven her car through the bush and almost hit one of the guys. She was asked to leave about a dozen times. And then made the mistake of picking a fight with the only guy for 100 miles in any direction who was more crazy than her. We managed to stop him from hurting the woman. But then he took out his best stabbing knife and slashed all of her tires. Punched holes in every body panel. Busted every light. And finally used the roof of her car as a trampoline for a couple of minutes. Someone vomiting into my mouth. My cousin had recently broken up with my friend. Both of whom were at the party. My friend decided the best thing to do was to get drunk and go attempt suicide by laying down in a snowbank on my front lawn. He failed. It's a stupid way to try to die. Someone slit their wrist. I was a child and had no idea what I was looking at. I don't know about ducked up in general. But the most ducked up thing that has ever happened to me. I was passed out on the floor at about 3 or 4 AM. Another guy at the party had passed out before me. And my friends drew all over his face. He woke up and went to the bathroom. Saw the big digs and insults all over his visage. And flipped out. The dudes that did the drawing decided to say it was me. So as I'm laying passed out under a blanket on the floor, he creeps over me. I wake up to a quiet but determined voice saying, "Herreen Bruges." Yes? Boom. Punched in the ducking ear full strength. I went full rage mode. Only time I've ever actually thrown multiple punches at someone. Jumped up. Right hook to his face. Another jab. And slammed him against the wall and another jab to his face. Only thing that stopped me was that there was a piece of art, friend's parents' house, that was about to fall off the wall from me throwing him against it. So in a weird half apologetic, Half confused moment for both of us. I asked what the duck was going on. He said I drew big digs on his face. I said I went to bed like 2 hours ago. And I don't know who told you that. I awkwardly let him go. And he stumbled out of the room. I laid back down. And was told the full story of why I was assaulted in my sleep by the actual culprits the next day. Party at my house. At midnight. A girl threw herself at her husband for a kiss so hard she put his ass through my wall. They were both too drunk to notice at the time. But when I saw it later and started asking who the hell put an ass-shaped hole in my wall. And she was picking weird pieces of drywall off the back of her husband's sweater. She put it together. They were mortally embarrassed. He came over the next day and patched it good as new. I leaned in to kiss a hot stranger at the strike of midnight and surprisingly she went for it. But she puked in my mouth and all over my face. Projectile puke to be accurate. It was awful. Duck New Year's. Worked with a nice guy on a few film sets back in the day. Not Hollywood. Exactly. But good money. Anyway, we're at a big night party at a biggish house. Had a pool. Couple of floors. Nice place. We're all relaxing. Celebrating. Dancing. Chilling. After a few drinks he asks if I've seen his wife lately. I'm like, dude, I didn't know you were married. But he means no. Tonight. He can't find his wife. Checks all around the party. Asking people. Nobody has seen her. He starts to worry. Starts checking rooms. Starts getting actually concerned, but the countdown is about to start, so most of us are feeling like she'll just turn up. Yeah, no. He goes out to his car to check. Nothing. Goes to check rooms again. Right as we're cheering in the new year. He walks inside and bam. Shoots himself. Pistol in the mouth. He'd found his wife screwing yet another actor in one of the rooms and had gone out to his car to get the gun. Shot them both mid-coitus. Then walked out to where we were to suicide. Nobody saw it coming. Happy New Year. I got cut 1 year. I asked a guy if I could see his really cool knife. He let me see it. Right on the back of my hand. Made a 3-inch gashing my hand all the way through the skin. We were taking 2CB at a house party and a girl who lived a few houses down suddenly appeared in the house all beaten up. Her eyes were swollen and she was terrified. Her boyfriend had beat her up and she'd run out of the house. She heard the noise where we were and ran in. He came to the door a couple of minutes later looking for her but was told she wasn't there. Anyone who's ever taken 2CB will know it comes and goes in waves. Most of what I remember of that night is me trying to talk to her 1 minute and then laughing in her face. While she moved in and out of cartoon form. She sat there for about 2 or 3 hours in the middle of all us until some relative came and got her. The next day there were more than a few of us who questioned if she was actually there or not. Friend decided to throw a night party. I helped with shopping and setting up. By 10:30 no one had shown up. Host guzzled 2 bottles of champagne and locked himself in the bathroom. Doorbell rings around 11 o'clock and there are a dozen people outside. More continued to show up. Proceeded to have a great party in our friend's house while he spent the night passed out in the bathtub. Naked except for a cowboy hat. Edit, yes. I am, now, aware that something similar happened in a crappy millennial movie. No. Elvis Costello did not ask me for my dip recipe. Friend's wife slipped off the back of our hot tub and got wedged between the hot tub and the house. Almost had to call the fire department to get her out. She was so embarrassed she tore her ACL in an attempt to get herself out. Alcohol was a factor. Update, additional info. An important detail that was left out, her husband. And Redditor suggested that I provide, was that it was -10 out that night so we had to keep pouring warm hot tub water on her so she didn't freeze to death. It's probably nothing too crazy compared to all the other stories in here, but I went to a crazy night party last year with burlesque dancers hanging from the ceiling. Acrobatics. A huge champagne glass that a lady stripped and swam in. Etc. Anyways. At midnight a bunch of confetti cannons go off and it snows confetti in every crevice of this place. I legit feel bad for whomever had to pick this stuff up after the party. I shoot my glass of champagne they handed out from a chick who was walking around wearing a metal dress designed to hold champagne glasses, and suddenly realize it's just a glass full of champagne soaked confetti. I immediately run to the bathroom and throw up confetti for a good 2 minutes. I came back and proceed to get yelled at by my wife for missing our New Year's kiss and getting too drunk. I tried to explain but nobody believed the confetti glass. Was working in a bar in Tokyo back in 94/95 as a barman. 2 Saudis sitting by the bar and an Iranian gentleman standing behind ordering a beer. Saudis told the Iranian to duck off and a punch-up followed. All of them got chucked out. Hour later the police shows up as the Saudis were employed by the Saudi embassy and went to complain that they had been treated roughly by the bar staff bouncers. Had to spend night at the police station giving reports until 8 AM. Was at a night party in a small apartment several years ago. And there was a woman there who had peed her pants. And either didn't notice or didn't care. It was very obvious and after a while it started to smell too. But she was just casually laughing and talking and acting like it was no big deal. I used to hang out with older people when I was in high school. When I was 15 they were 19. I got invited to a party at a chalet. Got drunk and ended up getting raped by some random guy in an upstairs bedroom. Thankfully a friend came looking for me so it didn't last long. It's made me not want to go to house parties anymore. Even though it was almost 20 years ago and I was an idiot teenage girl. I worked 9 and a half 2 straight years and that was rough. Lots of accidents. Gunshots. Stabbings. And drunks. Some young guy drove into a river and was brought out frozen hours later to be pronounced at the hospital. An Asian guy was pissed drunk and vomiting whole bean sprouts. And the usual drunks were extra hammered. Oh yeah. There were lots of sick people too. In the morning one of the doctors bought us shots. I witnessed my sister attempting to heal herself by swallowing a whole bottle of Tylenol almost 30 years ago. She was supposed to be watching my sister and I while our parents were gone for the weekend. Her boyfriend was supposed to sneak over. But he chose to go to a different night party with another chick. Her friend called her up and told her about it. I called grandparents' house when I thought things were going weird. At a night party at a local bar in NY. My buddy sees a guy who had bullied him 10 years ago. Throughout grade school. Sitting at a table full of people. Fast forward a couple hours. Everyone buzzed. Partying. Commotion suddenly coming from the back of the bar. My friend had jumped up on the table. And was kicking the dude in the face. Yelling stuff like you thought you were tough when we were kids. Let's see how tough you are now. My buddy was a big dude and a college athlete. So no one knew what to do. And the dude was literally getting his face kicked in. And probably had little or no clue as to what was happening. Plus when he jumped on the table, all the drinks and food went flying and were all over the other people sitting there. I made it through the crowd. Pulled down my buddy and bear hugged him. And he was still trying to pound on the guy. Finally got him out the door where he continued raging outside. Calling the dude out. Come on out. Big man. I'm gonna punch your face some more. The guy was a bloody mess. Broken nose. Cuts. etc. His wife was screaming and crying. Just a mess. The party, however, continued. Edit. When I did the math, I realized that my friend hadn't seen the guy for around 10 years. Not 15. We were about 22 when it happened. And hadn't seen the bully guy since 8th grade. Which is about 12. Was in college at a bar for night with a group of friends. I was talking to a girl when my friend grabs me and says we have to leave. Other people I was with got into a fight with the bouncers. Bad idea as a window was broken and my friend's forehead was bounced off a pinball machine. We're kicked out and pile into a car to leave. I was riding itch in the front and puked all over the passenger. I still remember it running down his arm and into his lap. He gets out and we try to clean it a little, but have to get out of there. Pile back in and we're driving out of the parking lot when bam, we hit someone. His head hits the windshield and it cracks. We get out and luckily we all knew him, my best friend. He was with us at the bar, but decided to walk home. Apparently he was getting into a fight with a guy in the parking lot. The guy told him to look out right before we hit him with the car. Anyway, we just threw him in the backseat and took off. I'll always wonder what that guy thought. The party was at my apartment. The theme was a very Gaga New Year's and guests were expected to dress in Lady Gaga-esque costumes. My friends and I had been taking shots for hours while we got dressed up and ready for the evening, so I ended up passing out wasted around 11 PM. A weirdo guy who had a crush on me came in my room and rousted me from where I was laying on my desk in a pool of watery tequila vomit, shaking me awake to insist that we kiss at midnight. We made out for a long time in the living room. I went to the restroom afterwards and realized the side of my face was crusted with my own throw up and he put his tongue in my mouth anyway. While in high school we went to Union Square in SF49. Standing amongst the crowd, the dude in front of me turned around and puked all over me. I was covered in a stranger's drunky vomit from the shoulders down. It was literally the most horrible thing ever. Or maybe riding Bart home still drenched in stranger bath was. Needless to say, this night, as all since I got married, will be spent in my robe on the couch with my husband because I will not be ducking puked on by a stranger at an event ever again. I was in old Sacramento one night at a bar waiting for the fireworks show with some friends. This guy got up to go get a drink and ran into the girl and spilled her drink all over her. He apologized and asked if he could get her another drink and she was just yelling at him. She walked past him over to her boyfriend and told him he was some gangbanger or something and he pulled out a gun and killed him. The security guard tried to stop him from leaving and the guy shot him too, though I believe he lived. The cops shut down everything, everyone had to leave the area, they blocked off all of Old Town, cancelled the fireworks shows. This was at like 9 or 10 o'clock, so because of this couple they not only killed a guy destroying a family's life, they ruined thousands of people's night. When I was younger my family would celebrate with a couple other families in our neighborhood and would do a potluck type buffet. We brought sushi one year, and my dad got some actual wasabi for the occasion. An idiot friend of a friend bet another idiot he could eat all the wasabi in one go. Straight up ate it before anyone had a chance to try some. He ended up throwing up for an hour and my dad was not happy. That poor wasabi. Gone like tears in the rain.